Hi, and welcome to another episode of Mr. Bench's Book Reviews. What is in the box today? It's the Frog and Toad Storybook Treasury. So it's another from my series where I read from this book. And today's story will be from Frog and Toad Together, and the story is called A List. It's on page 70, so we'll go there. Still wearing a dressing gown, apologise for that slightly, but I'm sure you'll get over it. Frog and Toad Together, there they are on a tandem bicycle. It's almost very nice symbol of togetherness. I mean, you can ride one on your own, but it's not nearly as much fun. A list. One morning, Toad sat in bed. So he's at Toad's house, I guess. That's where most of these stories seem to take place. I have many things to do, he said. I will write them all down on a list, so that I can remember them. There's the list. We haven't had Frog yet. Normally, by this stage of the story, even though we're still only halfway down the first page, normally Frog would have shown up by now, so I don't know if this is a bit of a departure, particularly Frog and Toad together. You'd expect them to be in the same place. And yet, Toad is currently alone in his bed. It's morning, though, so maybe Frog shows up in the afternoon. So he's got lots of things to do, he's writing them down so he can remember them. What's sense? Well, Toad wrote on a piece of paper a list of things to do today, and they've written that quite nicely. It's written as though it's been written with like a pencil, like handwriting. It's still very legible, which is nice, particularly for young readers. It's quite well done, though. It seems like the T's aren't even all identical, so seems like they've actually written it, and then they've not just used a font that looks like handwriting. They've actually probably got someone to write that and copied in as an image, which is quite good. Makes a difference. Then he wrote, "Wake up." That's the first thing I was listing. "I have done that," said Toad, and he crossed out. Oh, I think here there's a slight printing out. I think it's meant to say, and he crossed out, because there's crossed out colon. It's probably meant to say "wake up," but it's not visible. I'll just read like that. And he crossed out "wake up." That's my sound effect. Then Toad wrote other things on the paper. And there's a picture here, but I'll read the picture. It's a picture of the list with things on it. A list of things to do today. Wake up. That's got a line through it, a very nice straight line. Eat breakfast. Get dressed. Go to Frog's house. It's going to be a change of location. Take walk with Frog. Eat lunch. Take nap. It's important after lunch. Play games with Frog. Eat supper. Go to sleep. That's a good list of things to do. Just a slight note that he's pretty inconsistent with his use of capital letters. For example, breakfast is capitalised in eat breakfast, but lunch isn't in eat lunch. Can't get much less consistent than that. But it's just for his own personal use, so I think it's okay. I'm not going to criticise. He doesn't write the date on it either, so if he is to misplace the list and find it another day, he might think that he has to do those things that day. Though a lot of them are probably fairly standard. I don't know if he always goes for a walk with Frog. He probably does the majority of them most days. "There," said Toad, "now my day is all written down." He got out of bed. That wasn't on the list. And had something to eat. Eat breakfast was on the list. Then Toad crossed out eat breakfast. There he's got his list with him at the breakfast table. And he's crossing it out. Seems to be quite enjoying himself. And there's the teapot. Yes, he has tea at breakfast. Sorry. did say I was a little ill. Did I? Well, I am. Eat breakfast. Toad took his clothes out of the closet and put them on. Then he crossed out, get dressed. And again here, it's even got the line through it on the thing, so that's quite cool. Little touches like that go a long way. Like he's got his pencil and paper with him. So yeah, he's got dressed, he's put on a jacket and some trousers. It says closet again, I think that's an Americanism. I'd probably say wardrobe if it was the British edition. I'm just emphasising that because I do have a British edition of some Frog and Toad stories, not all of them. And there are a couple of differences, I think. I can't quite remember. But there are a couple. I think they use a different word for tadpole in the American one. And possibly for like the whole trousers, pants thing. Possibly something else. Anyway, Toad put the list in his pocket, which he's now got because he got dressed. He didn't have a pocket earlier. Oh, he was in his pyjamas. So I don't know if he has pockets in his pyjamas. I guess he made it look quite good. He opened the door and walked out into the morning. It's still morning, that's good. Soon, Toad was at Frog's front door. Was that where he was going? Was that next on the list? Should we check? Yeah, go to Frog's house was next. He took the list from his pocket and crossed out, go to Frog's house. That's good. That's crossed out. He's taking his pencil with him as well, you can see in the picture. He's because you need to be able to cross the things off your list. Toad knocked at the door. Hello, said Frog. Look at my list of things to do, said Toad. Oh, said Frog. That is very nice. Toad said. So Frog has shown up now, but this is a good 4 or 5 pages in. That's quite uncommon, at least so far. In this series, Frog's otherwise been in very early on. But they've met up now. There's the first picture with both of them, and he's showing him his nice list. That is very nice. Toad said, my list tells me that we will go for a walk. All right, said Frog. I'm ready. So Frog has already got dressed. I don't know if he's had breakfast. I don't know if he has a list, but he is dressed certainly. Wear quite similar clothes. Both got trousers, probably cords with a belt and some kind of jacket. And you've got brown Toad wears a green jacket and green Frog wears a brown jacket. I don't know if they're made of frog and toad skin respectively, probably not. That would be a bit weird and macabre. Anyway, he's ready. Frog and Toad went on a long walk. Was that the first time I've had Frog and Toad? It's that little noun phrase, which is a good one to have. Sometimes they have Toad and Frog, but Frog and Toad, Toad and Frog. Good to have that. Emphasises their togetherness, as this group of stories is called. Then Toad took the list from his pocket again. He crossed out, take walk with Frog. One thing I'm just checking here, because I mentioned the items on the list were not consistently capitalised. So I'm just seeing if when they appear in the text, if they use the same capitalisation there as they did on the list, they have done so far. So walk is lowercase here and it is on the initial list. Could be chance. Just then there was a strong wind. It blew the list out of Toad's hand. Oh dear, he looks quite distressed by that. The list blew high up into the air. I can't reach it. Help! Cried Toad. My list is blowing away. What will I do without my list? As you noticed earlier, it said, my list tells me that we will go for a walk. So it's almost as though he's being dictated to by the list rather than just, these are my things, I'm going to do them, and so he's using the list as progress, almost as though he feels that he has a responsibility to the list now. And now he doesn't know what to do. What will I do without the list to tell? Hurry, said Frog. We will run and catch it. No, shouted Toad. I cannot do that. Why not? Asked Frog. Well, why not? Probably a bit more urgency. Because, wailed Toad, Running after my list is not one of the things that I wrote on my list of things to do. Well, and that's very strict. I don't know if he ever said that he was only allowed to do things on the list. Or things that you could see as a subtask of things on the list. And B, he hasn't got his list now, so in theory, he doesn't know what's on it. So in theory, he doesn't know if it says run after it or not. Because you said earlier, what will I do without the list? Which suggests that he needs to view the list, to actually be physically reading from the list in order to know what's on it and to do the things. So when the list isn't there, you could speculate it might say run after the list on the list. But he seems quite certain that he is right. I mean, we can check. We have the luxury of being able to flick back and forth with the book, which he doesn't have. Anyway, it sounds like he doesn't want to run after it. Frog ran after the list. That's just Frog now. So Frog and Toad together. Broken again. Just Frog runs after the list. Toad stays there. Frog is not bound by a list. Do what he likes, Frog. Bit of a free spirit. He. I mean, I don't know if he is being used for a particular emphasis there, but it is he rather than they. You know, before. Well, I'm not sure it does use the word they anyway, but anyway. It's he ran over hills and swamps, but the list blew on and on. The list blew. It's interesting, intransitive use of the verb blow. The list blew. The wind blew. The list. I don't know if that's an Americanism, or if it's just a bit weird, or if it's perfectly normal. And I'm weird, which is also a possibility. The list blew. Trying to think. The leaves are blowing in the wind. Is that what you say? Possibly. Maybe that's perfectly normal. Did the leaves blow? Don't know, I might look that up. I mean, clearly Lobel uses it like this, so it is a usage. Just don't know if it's like a Lobelism. But I don't think he's known for particularly odd turns of phrase. Mainly just known for very tight, clear texts. Very difficult word to say that. Anyway, at last Frog came back to Toad. I'm sorry, gasped Frog, but I could not catch your list. Thought he was going to get it. It's a bit of a turn. Blah, said Toad. Toad, in these stories, he often says things like blah and drat. Very mild curses. Well, this is sad now. What's he going to do? I cannot remember any of the things that were on my list of things to do. Well, that again, if he can't remember any of the things, then you could say there shouldn't be a negative constraint. So he could assume that he can do anything. But it's how he chooses to interpret it, isn't it? I would just have to sit here and do nothing, but sitting here and doing nothing probably wasn't on his list either. You could argue that doing nothing for a bit involves sitting here. It's also an action of sorts. Anyway, Toad sat and did nothing. Frog sat with him. That's out of solidarity, not because Frog is bound by any list. I mean, it doesn't say that, but I think that's what we can understand. After a long time, you can even see the sun setting in the picture. I like that they've made this little illustrative it's not a clue, but like just a correspondence between the text and the thing after a long time, so the sun's getting up. Oh, and he even says it. Frog said, Toad, it is getting dark. We should be going to sleep now. Go to sleep, shouted Toad. That was the last thing on my list. So he's remembered it. Toad wrote on the ground with a stick, go to sleep. Then he crossed out, go to sleep, and then it's got that line through it. There, said Toad. Now my day is all crossed out. I'm glad. I am glad. You know, they never write I'm, said Frog. Then Frog and Toad went right to sleep. And there they are, sleeping happily by some tree. And he's now got a stick. I don't know what happened to his pencil. but I guess he didn't want to get ground, like mud on the pencil. And that's it. I'm sure you'll be wondering, what didn't they do then? They never ate lunch. Well, I mean, Toad primarily, but Frog probably would have joined in. So they didn't eat lunch, they didn't take nap, because this sleep is not a nap, this is go to sleep. They didn't play games, or Toad didn't play games with Frog, and they didn't eat supper. So if you're incapable of fulfilling your basic daily needs without a list, then you probably should look after your list a bit better. They seem happy enough, but they'll be hungry in the morning. They've missed 2 meals. And I guess instead of playing games, they just did a lot of sitting around, looking glum. So yeah, I mean, you could construe an interpretation about, like, do not let yourself be too bound by rules and laws and people or lists telling you what to do, even if you've constructed them yourself. But again, I like the togetherness aspect, because Frog could have just gone off and said, here, Toad, you're just sitting around, you're not doing anything, have more fun, and then Frog could have gone gallivanting, come back in the evening, and then they could have gone to sleep. But Frog sat with Toad, which probably made the sitting a bit more bearable for him, unless Toad had pangs of conscience and was thinking, oh no, my I don't know, is it pedantic? Like, whatever, his adherence, his insistence on adhering to the list, even though he doesn't know what's on it, has basically ruined Frog's afternoon as well. And possibly the next morning, because they'll be absolutely famished in the morning. But maybe it just shows that if they're together, it doesn't matter so much what they're doing, even if it's just sitting there doing nothing, moping. So there you go, a lot to think about on that, lots to read into. Do write in the comments what you think about it. Always like to get a few comments, and otherwise I shall see you next time for another of Mr. Bench's book reviews. Bye.